Hello, Dario. Can you hear me? Good to see you. Good to
See you,
see you.
David.
And
We're almost there.
yes, yes. So, Dario, let's begin from the ideas.
Well, you've been many times at my house, and you've had dinner with us. And I can't remember whether it was the very first time you came that you threw the idea on the dinner table that maybe we could do something together, and with Mariam's as a choreographer. At that point, it was a very vague idea that wouldn't it be nice to do something together. Um, and probably, as I always do, I think two things at the same time. I think, yes, it would be really nice to work together. And then I think, oh my God, but then I have to write music. That's hard. Do I really want to do that? So there's always a kind of battle between the war. Will I be able to do whatever we're thinking of doing, and will I find the space in my head, in the time, in the schedule? And there's always one thing, and you know how it is. But I must say that you were very convincing, David, and very, very persevering. And for everybody, but I think for composers especially, there's always this fear of writing music that no one is going to hear, or writing music for yourself that ends up in a drawer. So to have someone that actually asks you, and tells you, but we need your music. Your music is going to be needed for something. It's going to be used. That's an incredible gift to a composer. It just means I'm not writing for myself, which I have no interest really in writing for myself. I'm writing for something, for someone, and that makes it immediately different. Then it's a project. It's a real thing. It's not an abstract thing, and it becomes more and more concrete as then the details come in about what is it that we want to do, when, who's going to play it, who are the players, show me their faces. But okay, I can start imagining, and I start writing music thinking, the double bass player here, he's got a nice bit here. I hope he's going to find it interesting to play. And it becomes something that you do. It connects to other people. It's not just in your head anymore. It has a connection with the world. And so that makes it exciting.
I remember we talked about Dante's Divine Comedy, about the ancients, about the Middle Ages, about the music generally, about folk music, Georgian
Yeah,
folk music, and
yeah.
Middle Ages music. And I remember I showed you one photo from Mariam's
I,
choreography.
I, I would almost say a bait.
I remember you told me, how do you see the composition of this ballet, of this project, of this production?
So I was a little unsure about at the beginning, really, mostly because it's a massive work, the Divine Comedy. It's huge, and it is quite familiar, and I was familiar with the size, with the huge scale of it. But I think the photo that you showed me and what you said immediately made me see that there was a possibility to tell the story in a completely different way. And so the idea that it was Beatrice that we would see throughout, and that it would be transformations of Beatrice that turns into various creatures, into various characters, into various monsters and angels and devils. And it's always all seen through this one person of Beatrice that takes different shapes. And that was very interesting. That made me think of metamorphosis. It made me think of Kafka. It made me think of other things, and a new way to imagine the journey. So it wasn't the journey of a man, uh, it was a journey of a woman or a spirit, say, and by encountering all these different situations, she would transform. She would be transformed by the situations, and I thought that was very interesting. That I hadn't thought that you could tell the story like that. So that and the photograph actually was very interesting because there was no scenery, no. It was just a woman coming out of smoke.
Yes.
And it was very open. It could be the smoke of hell, it could be the clouds of heaven, it could be anything. And so there was an openness that made me think, okay, well, it's not going to be the film of Dante's journey. It's another thing. It's a completely, it's like a dream. It's like an imaginary point of view into the story. And so that made me feel that I could be quite free. And then, so the problem then is that if one is too free, then it's almost worse, because then you can do anything. And so I immediately started asking you and Mariam for a breakdown of the scenario, of the synopsis, yes. Because I needed to break down the story in some chapters. And obviously I was aware that you could not put everything from the Divine Comedy into the ballet. You had to make a choice. And so I was really very keen to have some kind of structure that would help me to have some limitations, because without limitations, as you know, it's very difficult to work.
Yes, and my next question is about your working process with Mariam.
I think the thing that happened very quickly is that I realized that Mariam was completely open to my musical suggestions. So for a little bit at the beginning, I had to make a start for myself. I had to find a way into the music. So after I received the synopsis that Mariam sent for the first time, I think I didn't send anything for at least 3 weeks, and those 3 weeks were probably the hardest weeks for me, because every day I was sitting in front of my keyboard, and my piano, and the next day I would undo everything that I had done the day before, and I was not sure that I had found the door into some kind of language that I was happy that I could use. And part of the uncertainty related to timings. So in the scenario, for example, it's you read something like preludes, or the character of Beatrice is established, but then you think, okay, well, I have about 20 of these scenes, and the ballet, we want to have a ballet that lasts about 50 minutes, and then what does it mean that each scene must last 2 minutes? And you know, my mind goes immediately kind of mathematical and think, all right, but what does one scene, what's the weight of one scene? So a lot of insecurity at the beginning. You don't have a language established, you don't have themes, you don't have a clear idea of timings. But the moment I found some beginning that I kind of liked, and I sent it to Mariam, and I said to Mariam, look, I think this is a kind of thing that could work, but I need to know really how it feels to you, and if you think you can work with something like this, if I progress from here. The immediate response was brilliant. You know, Mariam came back to me and said, I love it, it's beautiful, I like it, and I know I can work with this, and I'm really open to, you know, you go with the music where it feels right musically. And so it gave me the confidence and the freedom to follow her synopsis, breakdown, but also if I wanted to stay longer on one scene because it felt right with the music, I could. And same if I want to group two or three scenes into one musical gesture I could. And then, so every week or every 2 weeks, I would send Mariam new sections together with the old ones. So the piece started getting larger and larger and larger. And every time, first time I sent maybe 5 minutes, and then second time was 10 minutes, and then 15 minutes. And then gradually, it built up, and I kept getting this reassurance from Mariam that she could work with it and she could see things. And that was the nice thing, that she was saying that she could see things to do with the music. So that was very reassuring. And then there was this other idea that we had talked about when you were in London the first time with Mariam, and we sat in that cafe, and I think I brought up the idea to use some music that was contemporary to Dante and try to find a way to use it in the ballet. And I probably part of it at the time was thinking, oh my God, I've got to write it, 1 hour of music. Can I hijack some music already written? So I have to write a bit less. Once I started, I thought I could do the whole thing, but I did hijack a little tiny tune from the 1300s from a composer that I really love, whose name is Guillaume de Machaut. And so he was writing at the same time that Dante was alive. There was this ballad that he had written, and it was a love ballad that had a lot of pain, the pain of love and wanting to die, because death and love mixed all together, and lust, and also beauty, and it all wrapped up in the same ballad, which is typical actually of that time. There's a very particular type of poetry, especially in the south of France, that had that particular subject. And Guillaume de Machaut is a very interesting composer also, because although he wrote a lot of sacred music, but he was very naughty, and he loved hiding secular songs inside the sacred music. So he would write a mass, but hidden in one of the tunes inside the mass, there would be a song of the time, like a really popular song that was a little naughty, maybe a little rude, but the priest in the church or no one would notice. It was just his joke. He liked putting a little bit of earthly mischief inside the sacred music. And I thought, this is brilliant. He did it in the 1300. He would put in bits of other tunes inside his composition, and I'm going to do the same thing. So I took a little bit of his tune and I put it in my composition as I guess a homage to the 1300s and to the 14th century, and also to the idea that in the journey there is some love in hell, there's some hell in paradise, and it's not just all separate. There is a little bit of pain in heaven too, and there's a little bit of beauty and a little bit of love in the middle of hell as well. And so this tune, the first time you hear a little bit of this tune, is right in the one of the early sections of the piece, where the ballet is depicting Francesca da Rimini and her lustful love that condemns them to the eternal punishment. But it's a very beautiful love song. So there is beauty in hell too.
I want to ask you about your impression, emotion about collaboration with the orchestra, Georgian Sinfonietta.
I wish I could be there in person, and it would be much more pleasurable for me. Apart from anything else, my job is quite lonely, because writing music is something that you can only do on your own in a room, and you spend a lot of time inside your own head. So the chance of going to a rehearsal for real and being there in person and meeting other people, it's a wonderful one. And so, but this time we have to do it in a different way, unfortunately. But I think it is working. And I had very early, I got in touch with the orchestra and with Giorgi, just to check. There was something I thought it was a little tricky, and I wasn't sure, because that's the amazing thing of the Georgian Sinfonietta, that they can play without a conductor. But I don't really know how much can be done without a conductor in terms of complicated timings and speeding up and slowing down. And so there was a section that I was a little worried about, and I sent it to the orchestra, and the answer came back, and it was what I was hoping they would say, which was, don't worry, we'll sort it out. You write it, we'll do it. So that was great, so I kept writing and not worrying about things that I thought would be too difficult. And I thought, okay, when I get to the end, I'm going to send it to them. If they think it's too difficult, we'll talk about it. Yeah. And actually, I have written some difficult music. It's in this piece. It's not easy, and they're doing an amazing job already. I mean, the first recording of the first rehearsal that I heard was amazing. Obviously they had practiced their parts a lot, and they knew the music very well. Apart from that, they're doing an amazing job, and I find it quite miraculous how they can play without a conductor, really complicated rhythms and complicated music. So I'm very pleased and very grateful to all the work they're putting in.
Great. And your wishes to Mariam and ballet troupe. So
she's in the middle of it, so I sympathize. There's a certain amount of pain that comes from being right in the middle and not having finished, and you can see how relaxed I am about having finished writing. So I am sure I don't need to wish it to her, because I'm sure that she is going to get to the same place where she'll finish doing what she's doing right now, and then be happy and be pleased with what she's done. And I'm looking forward to the two things coming together finally, and enjoy what's been a really interesting journey and hard work. And I wish to Mariam, but to all of us, that the public will respond and will emote, will be moved, will empathize with the story in the way we are trying to tell it. And it's an unusual point of view into the story. The story is very famous, but the point of view is very fresh. And so that's my wish for all of us and for the public, that is going to result into an enriching, enlightening, and memorable and beautiful experience.
Thank you very much, Dario, for your collaboration, first of all. You are very, very welcome here in Georgia.
It is definitely one of my wishes too, to be there and experience the ballet in person and see you and see Georgia and come and drink a bit of wine with you.
We will, I'm sure. Thank you very much, Dario.